Alrighty, we are live on YouTube, and Mike and Betsy are admitted.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. We're going to wait just a moment, just make sure everything's good. All right. Good evening to everybody joining us remotely. This is the May 4th, 2020 regular meeting of the Lakewood Board of Education. The board did convene for executive session prior to this meeting. We've come out of executive session now to conduct regular business. During that session, we did have our call to order and roll call. We'll open this public session this evening with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you could please stand and find a flag or look at Dr. Barnes's screen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have before us the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Is that adoption of the agenda with an addition?
Right. President Petrie Barcelona, if I could enter a motion to amend the agenda, adding an item B under other board business, a resolution to amend the school calendar.
Okay, so we'll have Mr. Callahan making the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Favor, a second. Any discussion on the agenda or the change? I will need a roll call vote. Mr. Zeman, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Pete Barcelona.
Aye.
Mr. Shaughnessy.
Aye.
Mr. Favor.
Aye.
Mr. Callahan.
Aye.
Ms. Beebe.
Aye.
Thank you. Moving forward, our next item is we have the minutes from the regular board meeting held on April 20th, 2020. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any discussion items or changes to the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Thank you. Okay, next we do have the superintendent's report. Dr. Barnes.
Thank you very much, Madam President. First and foremost, I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you to our community. On last Tuesday, issue 28 was a success. We thank you for the faith that you have placed in the Lakewood City Schools. Considering these economic uncertain times, the community's gesture at the ballot is really an indication of its commitment to excellent education. And we are up for the challenge of meeting that task of continuing to provide a high quality education for our students. Again, we're excited. We thank you, and onward we go. So I want to take a few minutes to talk a little bit about that. Couple of updates. I just want to provide some updates, and then I know there's some questions that were previously submitted that I'll address as well that kind of was on my list of just providing some updates to the community. One of the things that we wanted to do is make sure that we were getting appropriate feedback from our communities, stakeholders, students, parents, staff, about remote learning and how the past 5 weeks have actually gone. We've surveyed teachers, parents, and students in grades 6 through 12. We've gotten some great feedback, and that feedback will be used to help guide our future planning. And I won't go into the details of that, but I just want it to be noted for the public record that we are soliciting the feedback from stakeholder groups so that we can know just how well we're doing and where there are areas that we need to improve for the purpose of getting better educating students. So I wanted to mention that. There's been a lot of questions in our Facebook Live meeting last week. It came up as well, and we've been getting emails about recreation. And I just wanted to address a couple of items. I do know our recreation coordinator, Mrs. Krogman, will be attending a webinar of other recreation professionals on Wednesday. This was a recommendation that was shared with me by Mayor George, as most cities coordinate recreation services. The Lakewood City Schools handle that responsibility. So Mayor George was nice enough to pass it along to me. And we're going to be able to engage in that webinar to learn a little bit more about what cities and other departments are doing for programming. During this time of social distancing, it's very tough and challenging, but I do know that they're working very hard over there in the rec department to be creative. For example, they're looking at some virtual programming. One of them is dance, for example, I was told just recently. So we're looking creatively. If social distancing doesn't allow our kids to get to come together physically, that we are still trying to provide some kind of recreation experience for our students, our kids, and our families. Some of the logistics that I just want to share for the board is registration has basically been suspended for the month of May. And then they're going to reevaluate if any new guidelines come out sort of towards the middle of May, going into June, to see if they can open up registration again. I was told that any family that has paid or made a deposit, that they're committed to fully refunding that or using it as a credit moving forward. But we know that families are trying to plan for the summer, and we're doing our very best to try to answer the question about the kind of recreation program that we're going to be able to provide. So I wanted to provide that little update for the board. We are working behind the scenes, basically 3 tracks as we prepare. We're trying to close school and figure out what that's going to look like. We're trying to plan for the summer, and then we're trying to plan for the start of the school year. So the staff, administrators, teachers are working hard to help define what that is sooner than later, so that we can clearly communicate that out to our families, because they certainly want to know and deserve to know. The last part that I'd like to touch on is graduation. We know that this is very, very important for our students and their families, our families. And Mr. Walter and his team put together a survey to try to get feedback from parents. I believe that survey closes today. And they want to take that to begin to put together what a celebration for these seniors who've had to endure so much could look like. I know they're trying to be creative. They're trying to put together a plan that reflects the opinions and suggestions and thoughts and concerns of the families in this community. And so I can't wait to see what that will look like. And I know Mr. Walter will be communicating something very soon based on that feedback. So with that, that concludes the superintendent's report, unless members of the board has any questions.
Dr. Barnes, overall, I was just wondering, I realize we might not have full information right now necessarily, but can you tell us a little bit more about the feedback from families and the survey that went out with regard to just what you're looking at right now for this school year, as well as planning into next one?
Specific to graduation or
just learning in general,
okay,
especially given our new agenda.
Thank you. Sorry for that. We've put out so many surveys. I wasn't quite sure. I wanted to answer your question. So yeah, we're getting fantastic feedback from our parents around the remote experience, considering the circumstances. And but there are some things that they've suggested that we want to take advantage of as we plan moving forward. One of those that has really jumped out is the appreciation and the need for FaceTime, that the kids appreciate the FaceTime with the teachers, and they need that social connection. And for those who are getting that, they've raved about how wonderful this experience is going, considering, again, the circumstances. Another takeaway for parents is they've talked about an appreciation of the workload based on grade level. Some have a child in the 3rd grade, and maybe they may have a middle schooler. And we know that there's an expectation that's an expectation difference there, and they feel that it's appropriate. They feel that the kids are able to handle that. And so, yeah, those are a couple of the highlights that that we're taking away. An area that we really want to look at moving forward that has been a concern is some of the inconsistencies of platforms. Again, trying to respond in such a short time, they've asked that we give some consideration to a consistent platform so kids know where to go always, and that they don't get confused. An example would be, Zoom or Google Meets, or a text or video, or excuse me, an email. They just want a more consistent platform communicated. So those are some highlights as it relates to the feedback from the parents.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments for Dr. Barnes? Hearing none, I'm wondering, board, would you consider moving up other board business item B to this point so that Dr. Barnes can share more when we open up discussion about that?
Yes, good idea.
If so,
Good
is
idea.
there motion for that?
I move we move item B from other business to this point in the agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. With that, Mr. Callahan, would you please speak to your motion?
One moment.
Sure, that's fine.
Would you prefer that, so what we have before us is an amended calendar, a resolution to amend the calendar for the 2019-20 school year. President Petrie Barcelona, would you prefer that I read the resolution in its entirety?
Why don't you make the motion and have it seconded, and then in discussion, if you could read it.
Dr. Barnes, talk about it.
Okay. So I then move to the motion in front of us, or I'm sorry, the resolution in front of us, motion to approve the resolution in front of us to amend the calendar for the school year 2019-20.
Second.
Second. It's
Second.
been moved and seconded. Now for discussion, please. Dr. Barnes, could you speak to this?
Sure. The resolution that I'm recommending for the board to consider is to amend the academic instructional calendar for the 1920 school year. With just 3 days to plan back in March, our incredible staff were challenged with the task of creating a remote learning experience for students. For the past 5 weeks, our parents, our students, and our staff have been really grinding at this, something that we had no training to do, to be honest. Nevertheless, accepting the challenge and working through this and providing an educational experience that our kids deserve, that has been the effort for the past 5 weeks. But in talking with students and talking with parents, as recent as last Thursday night, they're tired. There hasn't been an opportunity to exhale. There hasn't been an opportunity to just slow down. And part of the reasoning for this recommendation for the board to consider, this resolution for the board to consider, is to relieve a little bit of the stress and strain on our students, their families, Many of them are working while trying to help the students at home as well, or to do their work from home. And also to relieve some of the stress and strain on our staff who really just had to react without the opportunity to what I would define as really planning. And they would agree with that. But nevertheless, they were up and have been up for the challenge. In addition to that, not knowing what next year will look like, it is critically important that we give our staff ample time to plan and prepare for the 2020-2021 school year. We believe that education can look like one or three different ways. We can be back to school as normal. There could be some kind of blended approach where kids come on some days and some days they're remote learning, or it can be exclusively remote learning like we're doing now. But because we cannot predict what the fall will look like, we have to be prepared for all of it. And I know that our staff is committed to providing the highest quality of instruction possible. And so we want to use this opportunity to engage the staff in intense professional development around building a robust curriculum that our students deserve for our next school year. The idea here is that the instructional calendar would conclude on May 20th for students in grades pre-K through 12. Our teachers and principals will remain engaged through June 3rd. And what they would be doing in that time is engaging in intense professional development, learning robust platforms, building curriculum, collaborating with one another, et cetera, so that we can be better prepared for next year. I think this is necessary. I think it's absolutely needed. And once staff leave for the summer, we wouldn't get another shot at this. And so I think this is an opportune time. We've exceeded the state minimum instructional hours. And so we have all the rights, if we so choose, to end the instructional calendar for the students and begin planning for the 2020-21 school year.
Thank you, Dr. Barnes. Mr. Callahan, was there part of the resolution or anything you'd like to speak to?
I see nothing further to add to Dr. Barnes' comments at this time.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments or questions or discussion on this motion?
No, I'll just say that I appreciate how much hard work is going into planning for the unplannable in a way. And so, you know, I think everyone is going to be more comfortable and less stressed when there's been some consideration of ways to approach it. So I'm all for it.
I just realized I did have one question. Will we be continuing food service during this period through June 2nd?
Yes.
Okay.
We will have to make some adjustments to our delivery model that we'll be communicating out this Friday because we are handing out meals on Mondays and Thursdays, and we do have Memorial Day approaching.
Okay.
So we're going to have to make a shift there, but we do plan to continue to the distribution of meals through the end of the fourth quarter, which is June 3rd.
Thank you. So with this motion, I would just echo the fact that I appreciate all of the effort that all of our teachers and administrators and just the whole Lakewood City Schools team has put into becoming a remote education experience for all of our students and our families. And as a parent, certainly I appreciate the fact that we were able to pivot so quickly and that our kids are still learning new content and are still excited about what they're doing, albeit in a different way. So anyway, so with this motion, Mr. Zeman, do we have to amend the motion to note that it needs to be approved on one reading?
No, it was stated when Mr. Callahan.
Oh, I apologize. Okay, I apologize. So with that, any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none, we will need a roll call vote for this motion. Mr. Zeman?
Ms. Petrie Barcelona,
Aye.
Mr. Shaughnessy,
Aye.
Mr. Favor,
Aye.
Mr. Callahan,
Aye.
Ms. Beebe.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thanks for your willingness to work through the agenda. Not sitting in the same place with everybody, sometimes it makes it a little challenging to work through. Superintendent Barnes, were there any other items on the superintendent's report you wanted to address?
No,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Moving forward, we now have the discussion of the agenda items for the second regular meeting, which will take place 2 weeks from now. The first item is the finance report. Ms. Beebe.
Thank you. We have 5 items tonight. The first 2 are the normal report on the financial situation of the district. First, investments purchased and matured for March. Shows that investment earnings for the board for the month of March totaled $76,263. And the investment earnings for construction funds for the month of March were $315.98, or $39,144 for the year to date. Financial information generally, the general fund receipts for last month totaled $4,713,597. Expenditures totaled $6,289,335. The expenditures are trending higher fiscal year 2020 than 2019. And on behalf of the Financial Committee, I want to say, as did Dr. Barnes, thank you very much to the community for the passage of issue 28, because this is the first year that this district has in a long time found that expenditures were exceeding revenues. And this will allow the district to continue to operate fiscally responsibly. The next item on the agenda is an agreement with Julian and Grube, Inc. For the purpose of, now I'm gonna talk a little bit about it from the notes I've been given, and then I'm going to throw this over to Mr. Zeman. But it's a contract with Julian and Grube for the purpose of gap conversion for the fiscal years ending 2020 to 23. At the cost of $8,700 a year. And the information that I have says that the benefit of this contract will be that elected officials and district managers will get improved quality of financial information. There'll be improved financial information available to the public, and therefore it will enable the board to be more accountable for its actions to the public. And Mr. Zeman, was there anything you care to add to that?
No, just 2 quick things with that resolution. Is one is that the $8,700 per year is a 2% increase over the prior contract. So it went up only $200, and I think that's fixed for the next 3 years. But what's also important is with the gap conversion, which is generally accepted accounting principles. That was part of our financial reports when we went to all of our different partners, when we refinanced a number of our different bond issues. So that information was helpful in regards to our rating improvement the last time we went to the bond agencies, which then provided us those opportunities to reduce our debt service millage, which made the issue 28 a no new tax rate issue. So it's money well spent, and it has helped save the district dollars going on.
Very good. Thank you very much. The next item deals with photographic service contracts. The Lakewood High School principal and the yearbook coordinator have told us that they've had positive experiences with Grad Images and Life Touch. And both of these companies will be receiving renewed contracts for 3 years to do photographs and to work with our students in the production of the yearbook. So that would conclude my report.
Had to unmute myself. Thank you, Miss Beebe. I appreciate it. Moving forward, the next report is building sites and major purchases. Mr. Favor.
Thank you, President Petrie Barcelona. We have two items here. The first is for change orders at the Taft Center for Innovation. As board members know, we have a project agreement with Then Design and Millstone Management for renovations at Taft. This particular resolution deals with the University of Akron being a tenant at Taft. There'll be a 5-year lease agreement. The cost of these change orders should be recovered in the rent that the University of Akron will pay. And basically the orders are two. One is to renovate one classroom into 3 offices, and the other is for some build out and some technological improvements in the other classrooms. One change order is $7,500. The other change order is $81,000. Again, those will be recovered with the rent that the University of Akron will pay during the 5 years of the agreement. The second is an agreement between the Lakewood Board of Education and Cone Incorporated. And this is basically elevator and lift management throughout the district. The resolution board members have in front of them show the number of elevators in the various buildings that we have, and there are a number of them, and they require maintenance and necessary servicing. The cost for the contract is $24,000 a year, and built into it is every 2 years a 3.25 adjustment in price. So we would have 2020, and 2021 at this rate, and then 2022, 2024, 2026 through the rest of the time of the contract. There would be that 3.25%. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on to the next area is the education report. Mr. Callahan.
Thank you, President Petrie Barcelona. We have 5 items tonight on the education report. In summary, the first being the approval of the 2020 graduating class of Lakewood High School, as Superintendent Barnes recommends to the board the approval of 367 possible candidates for graduation. The second is in regard to instructional materials. The middle and high school world language teachers and teaching and learning department have selected the middle and high school grades 8 to 12, French 2, German 2, and Spanish 2 world languages texts with e-texts 2018-19 editions as our middle school and high school textbook and online resource. To note here, the textbook and 6-year student license will be purchased at a price quote of $38,500. We have third, a resolution to approve the 2020-2021 student handbooks submitted for their yearly approval. Next, we have the memorandum of understanding between the Board of Education and the Cleveland Clinic Foundation. The school district continuing its partnership with Cleveland Clinic Foundation to provide school-based healthcare. Cleveland Clinic Foundation will provide a mental health clinic in the district, which will serve district students, families, staff, and their families. They will be able to access a variety of healthcare services within that clinic. And finally, an agreement between the Board of Education and Ombudsman Educational Services. Ombudsman Alternative Education Services provides special education services to students whose needs require specialized services outside of the Lakewood City Schools through the Ombudsman Learning Center for the 2020-2021 school year. It notes that the Ombudsman Alternative Education Service offers students instruction both online and through small group instruction, and the district is able to purchase seat time as needed. And that concludes the education report.
Thank you, Mr. Callahan. Next area is policy. For this meeting, there are no policies for us to have first reading on. So I will move forward to Human Resources and Community Services report, Mrs. Shaughnessy.
Thank you very much. There will be 3 resolutions. The first, 166 actions dealing with certified personnel actions. The second, a total of 8 actions with regard to classified employees. And the third, a total of 9 actions dealing with community recreation and education. And if you ever knew there was a change this year, it's looking at the hires for community recreation and education, because normally we'd have, numerous hires for our programs in the summer, and this year there will be 9 actions. So we will consider those at our next meeting.
Thank you, Mrs. Shaughnessy. Moving forward in the agenda, now is the time for communications. First, I will ask if Treasurer Zeman or Superintendent Barnes have any communications they would like to note.
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Board members, is there any communications you would like to note?
I would just note that we, all of us received a number of thoughtful requests from parents of high school students to graduating seniors to address that very important moment for their students and families and see what could be done. And I think Dr. Barnes alluded to the fact that Mr. Walters and the superintendent are looking at surveys related to that, and something will be coming out. But I wanted everyone to know that we did get those and we do read them and appreciate them.
Sorry, there we go. Any other board members? All right, with that, and give me a moment because I'm toggling between a few things here. We did receive communications from the public, so I will be reading that question into the record on behalf of the person as if they were here in person with us. So let me go to here. All right, so this is on behalf of Georgine Session, 1587 Waterbury Road. Good evening. First, I'd like to congratulate all for the passage of the school levy. I have several questions, all related to instruction in this unique time. What percentage of students what is the percentage of student participation by level in online instruction? Is the state requiring districts to report this information? And are there ongoing meetings about online instruction with classroom teachers addressing their needs and the needs of their students? Has there been any thought in providing primary students K through 2 with district iPads? Is there currently instructional planning options occurring in preparation for next year? I understand that at the middle school and high school, courses have online components. To enhance teaching and learning at the elementary, are there any curriculum purchases being considered or pending that have an online component in light of the possibilities of the current situation continuing into the next school year? And how will summer school look or work, especially at the elementary level this summer? And again, this was submitted on behalf of Ms. Session. Dr. Barnes, is there anything you can address with regard to these questions?
Sure. First of all, Ms. Session, thanks for the questions. I'd be happy to answer them the best I can. I'll take them one by one, and I'll give my response. You asked about the percentage of students participation by level and as it relates to online instruction. We send a survey out to teachers, an engagement survey that demonstrates that 8 of 10 kids are engaging in online learning. The 2 or the 20%, we're trying to really dig and get a better understanding of why or what's going on there. We've had counselors, principals, and even our residency staff member locating families, making calls, and trying to get a better understanding of what's going on there. But again, a little more than 80% of our teachers responded that our students are engaged in online learning. You also asked about ongoing meetings about online instruction with classroom teachers. We are engaging teachers during Zoom sessions to find out from them about how this is going and what their needs are. We're also planning to send a survey to the teachers about trying to get an understanding of best practices around online learning as we prepare for next year. So we are engaging our staff and getting feedback on that, as well as the principals. Has there been any thought in providing primary students grades K to 2 with an iPad? We use iPads when we're in the presence of students, but we prefer to use Chromebooks because of security measures. We feel, based on the direction of our tech director, that we can really lock down the Chromebooks a lot better than the iPads. And we run less of a risk of students accessing things that they should not be accessing. So we've preferred to use the Chromebooks for those primary grades as well. You asked, is there currently instructional planning options occurring in preparation for next year? The answer is yes. We're working with our cabinet, our principals, the district leadership team steering committee, which is made up of teachers at every grade level, representation for student services, as well as principals, on helping to plan what May and June, helping to plan during May and June for what next school year can look like. You talked about online courses in the middle school and what are we looking at in terms of options for online learning at the elementary schools. We are looking, we have a variety of different options depending upon the grade level at the K-5 level. These include BrainPop, iReady, as well as Fusion. So those are some of the programs that we're looking to assist with instruction and learning. And you lastly asked, how will summer school work, especially at the elementary level? We are planning for remote online summer school at both the elementary, middle, and high school level as we try to adhere to the social distancing orders, but still meet the educational needs of our students. We are concerned about learning gaps over the summer, so we wanted to offer learning opportunities for students. It will just look, it will be virtual versus in person.
Thank you, Dr. Barnes. And with this question or any others, we do ask any members of the public who would like to basically read a question into the record or read a comment, that we do accept those. We have the information on how to get those submitted with the meeting notice for these board meetings. So long as both the state permits boards of education or other elected officials to meet remotely while the stay-at-home orders and other conditions are present, we will likely continue to do so, given that we want to not only be safe for us, but safe for the public as well. We would still like to hear from you and have your participation in that way. So please feel free to send a note in that way. There were no other questions submitted. So moving on, the next area is other board business. And the item here is for Mrs. Shaughnessy.
Thank you very much. We have one resolution dealing with the resignation of a paraprofessional and career tech. The superintendent's requested that we approve this on one reading, so I would move this resolution on one reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve this motion on one reading, which requires a roll call. Mr. Zeman, would you please call the roll for this?
Ms. Peter Barcelona,
Aye.
Mrs. Shaughnessy,
Aye.
Mr. Favor,
Aye.
Ms. Beebe,
Aye.
Mr. Callahan.
Aye.
Thank you. Since we moved the other item up, are there any other pieces of business that come before the board?
Ms. Petrie Barcelona? like to just report briefly on the fact that we had a financial advisory committee meeting this past week. Financial advisory committee has proven to be a valuable resource for the district, members of the community with expertise in the areas of finance and school finance, who meet periodically with a member of the board and with the treasurer. This meeting covered the 5-year forecast, as it usually does, and particularly the effect of issue 28 on that forecast. So an interesting discussion there. We also discussed the effect of COVID-19, and the community members had many questions about the effect of COVID-19 on programming and on our operational costs. It was an interesting discussion, and the group agreed to meet again in July for an update and to just look at how the pandemic is affecting the schools, both financially and as operations. So anything to add, Mr. Zeman? I thought it was a good discussion.
No, I'd agree with that. And again, it was, I appreciate the members of the finance committee. They volunteer their time to, help us get a feel for the community's input, as well as giving me another lens to look through in regards to the operations and financial aspects of the district.
Ms. Petrie Barcelona, can I just, I had one comment, and that was, Dr. Barnes talked about, our appreciation for the levy passing. I just wanted to note that we had an exceptional levy committee. Colleen Sutton and Nora Katzenberger did a fantastic job leading it, but every single member of the committee did a great job. And maybe in a few months or whenever we're back into something more normal, we can have a recognition at a board meeting of them, because I think they did a great job under extenuating circumstances.
Agreed.
So,
Indeed, even in a change of the election day, a few hours before election day. So.
And normally on election eve, we're given a chance, to tell those people personally, one-on-one, what a grand job they've done and how much we appreciate their work. So yeah, I think we need to have them come before us at some point.
All right, any other business that comes before the board?
Madam President, I neglected to answer one of the questions from this session. She asked, is the state requiring districts to report student engage or participation information? They are not at this time.
Thank you. All right, any other business that comes before the board? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. As a matter of discussion, I'll just note that in 2 weeks when we meet, we will be remote again, and we'll just be following any other, not only the law from the state, but also any governor's orders. So with that, is there all those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? All right, hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you very much for participating and attending our meeting this evening. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.